The LPC theory, the path goal theory, and Vroom's decision tree approach together redirect the study of leadership. Not surprising then, other situational theories have been developed. Moreover, there continues to be changes and refinements to the original situational models. Let's take a look at the leader-member exchange model. The leader-member exchange model, or LMX, of leadership stresses the importance of variable relationships between supervisors and each of their subordinates. Each supervisor-subordinate pair is referred to as a vertical dyad. The model differs from earlier approaches in that it focuses on the different relationships leaders often establish between subordinates. This figure shows the basic concepts of the leader-member exchange theory. The model suggests that supervisors establish a special relationship with a small number of trusted subordinates referred to as the in-group. The in-group often receives special duties requiring more responsibility and autonomy. They also receive special privilege, such as more discretion about work schedules. Members of the in-group are also likely to be privy to sensitive information and are likely in the know about upcoming events before others. They may also receive more rewards and generally stronger support from the leader. Subordinates who are not part of this group are called out-group because they receive less of the supervisor's time and attention. Members of the out-group are likely to be assigned the more mundane tasks of the group, and they might not be in the loop insofar as information that's being shared. They may also receive fewer rewards and overall weaker support from the leader. Note that the figure of the leader has a dyadic, a one-to-one relationship with each of the 5 subordinates. Early in his or her interaction with given subordinates, the supervisor initiates either an in-group or out-of-group relationship. It's not clear how the leader selects members of the in-group, but the decision may be based on personal compatibility and the subordinate's competence. Research has confirmed the existence of in-groups and out-groups. In addition, studies generally have found that in-group members tend to have higher levels of performance and satisfaction than out-group members. The Hersey and Blanchard model is based on the notion that appropriate leader behavior depends on the readiness of the leader's followers. In this instance, readiness refers to the subordinate's degree of motivation, competence, experience, and interest in accepting responsibility. Here's the basic model. The figure suggests that as readiness of followers improves, the leader's basic style should also change. When subordinate readiness is low, for example, the leader should rely on a telling style by providing direction and defining roles. When low to moderate readiness exists, the leader should use a selling style by offering direction and role definition accompanied by an explanation and information. In the case of moderate to high follower readiness, the leader should use a participating style, allowing followers to share in decision-making. Finally, when follower readiness is high, the leader is advised to use a delegating style by allowing followers to work independently with little or no oversight. The Hersey and Blanchard theory suggests that leader behavior should vary in response to the readiness of followers. Transactional leadership is essentially the same as management in that it involves routine, regimented activities. Transformational leadership focuses on the basic distinction between leading for change and leading for stability. According to this viewpoint, much of what a leader does occurs in the course of normal, routine, work-related transactions, like assigning work, evaluating performance, making decisions, and so forth. Transformational leadership is the set of capabilities that allows the leader to change, to create vision, and to execute effectively. Only a leader with tremendous influence can hope to perform these functions successfully. Some experts believe that change is such a vital organizational function that even successful firms need to change regularly to avoid complacency and stagnation. Accordingly, leadership for change is also important. Leaders may also find it necessary to transition from either transformational or transactional leadership to the other. Transformational leadership is the set of abilities that allows the leader to recognize the need for change, to create a vision to guide the change, and to execute the change effectively. Perspective based on charismatic leadership assumed that charisma is an individual characteristic of the leader. Charisma is a form of interpersonal attraction that inspires support and acceptance. Charismatic leadership is accordingly a type of influence based on the leader's personal charisma. All else being equal, someone with charisma is more likely to be able to influence others than someone without. Robert House first proposed a theory of charismatic leadership based on research findings from a variety of social science disciplines. His theory suggests that charismatic leaders are likely to have a lot of self-confidence, firm confidence in their beliefs and ideals, and a strong need to influence people. They also tend to communicate high expectations about follower performance and to express confidence in their followers. This figure portrays the three elements of charismatic leadership in organizations that most experts acknowledge today. First, charismatic leaders are able to envision likely future trends and patterns, to set high expectations for themselves and for others, and to model behaviors consistent with meeting those expectations. Next, charismatic leaders are able to energize others by demonstrating personal excitement, personal confidence, and constant patterns of success. Finally, charismatic leaders enable others by supporting them, empathizing with them, and expressing confidence in them. The charismatic leader is characterized by these three fundamental attributes. As illustrated, these are behaviors resulting in envisioning, energizing, and enabling. Charismatic leaders can be a powerful force in any organizational setting. There are clear implications for attribution theory in leadership, especially when leadership is framed through the eyes of followers. Basically then, the attribution perspective holds that when behaviors are observed in a context associated with leadership, different people may attribute varying levels of leadership ability or power to the person displaying those behaviors. We might subsequently conclude that an individual is a leader because of both behavior and behavior of others. However, in a different setting, we observe that a person seems to be not especially confident or decisive. In this case, we're more likely to assume that a person is not really a leader. These attributions we make subsequently affect both our own behavior and the actual capacity of an individual to behave like a leader. Attribution perspective on leadership holds that when behaviors are observed in a context associated with leadership, different people may attribute varying levels of leadership ability or power to the person displaying those behaviors. Leadership substitutes are individual, task, or organizational characteristics that tend to outweigh the leader's ability to affect subordinate satisfaction and performance. In other words, if certain factors are present, the employee will perform his or her job capabilities without the direction of a leader. Unlike traditional theories, which assume that hierarchical leadership in one form or another is always important, the premise of leadership substitute perspective is that leader behaviors may be irrelevant in some situations. Individual ability, experience, training, knowledge, motivation, and professional orientation are among the characteristics that may substitute for leadership. Similarly, a task characterized by routine, a high degree of structure, frequent feedback, and intrinsic satisfaction may also render leader behavior unnecessary. Thus, if the task gives the subordinate enough intrinsic satisfaction, she or he may not need support from a leader. Explicit plans and goals, rules and procedures, cohesive work goals, a rigid reward structure, and physical distance between supervisor and subordinate are organizational characteristics that may substitute for leadership. Research has provided support for the concept of leadership substitutes, but additional research is needed to identify the potential substitutes and their impact on leadership effectiveness. Leadership neutralizers are factors that render ineffective a leader's attempts to engage in various leadership behaviors. The norms and cohesiveness of the group may be so strong that there's nothing the leader can do to change things. Of course, this pattern may also work in several different ways. The norms may dictate acceptable, but not high performance, and the leader may be powerless to improve things because the group is so cohesive. Or the norms may call for very high performance, such that the effective leader can't change anything about group dynamic or performance. In both cases, however, the process is the same. The leader's ability to alter the situation is neutralized by elements in that situation. In addition to group factors, elements of the job itself may also limit the leader's ability to make a difference. Consider, for example, employees working on a moving assembly line. Employees may only be able to work at the pace the line is moving, so performance quality is constrained by the speed of the line. Finally, organizational factors can also neutralize at least some forms of leader behavior. Many organizations today are using teams, and many other organizations are attempting to become less hierarchical. That is, to eliminate the old-fashioned command and control mentality often inherent in bureaucratic organizations, and to motivate and empower individuals to work independently. In each case, the role of leaders is also changing. Leaders were once expected to control situations, direct work, supervise people, closely monitor performance, make decisions, and structure activities. Many leaders today are being asked to change how they manage people. Perhaps the best description of this new role is that the leader is becoming a coach instead of an overseer or supervisor. A coaching perspective would call for the leader to help select team members and other new employees, to provide some general direction, and to help train and develop the team in the skills needed for members, and to help the team get the information and other resources that it needs. The leader may also have to resolve conflict among team members and mediate other disputes that arise. And coaches from many different teams may need to play important roles in linking the activities and functions of their respective teams. But beyond these activities, the leader keeps a low profile and lets the group get its work done with little to no direct oversight from the leader. Within the coaching role, some leaders have excelled at taking on more responsibilities as a mentor, the role of helping less experienced people learn the ropes and better prepare him or herself to advance within the organization. Leaders are increasingly being called upon to serve as coaches rather than supervisors. Strategic leadership is the capability to understand the complexities of both the organization and its environment, and to lead change in the organization as to achieve and maintain a superior alignment between the organization and its environment. In some ways, then, strategic leadership may be seen as an extension of the transformational leadership role. To be effective in this role, a manager needs to have a thorough and complete understanding of the organization, its history, its culture, its strengths, and its weaknesses. In addition, the leader needs to have a firm grasp on the organization's environment. This understanding must encompass current conditions and circumstances, as well as significant trends and issues on the horizon. The strategic leader also needs to recognize how the firm is currently aligned with its environment, where it relates effectively with that environment, and where it relates less effectively. Finally, looking at environmental trends and issues, the strategic leader works to improve not only the current alignment, but also future alignment. Strategic leadership is the capability to understand the complexities of both the organization and its environment, and to lead change in the organization as to achieve and maintain a superior alignment between the organization and its environment. In some ways, then, strategic leadership may be seen as an extension of the transformational leadership role. To be effective in this role, a manager needs to have a thorough and complete understanding of the organization, its history, its culture, its strengths, and its weaknesses. In addition, the leader needs to have a firm grasp on the organization's environment. This understanding must encompass current conditions and circumstances, as well as significant trends and issues on the horizon. The strategic leader also needs to recognize how the firm is currently aligned with its environment, where it relates effectively with that environment, and where it relates less effectively. Finally, looking at environmental trends and issues, the strategic leader works to improve not only the current alignment, but also future alignment. Virtual leadership uses distance technologies. In earlier times, leaders and their employees worked together in the same physical location and engaged in personal, i.e. face-to-face interactions on a regular basis. But in today's world, both leaders and their employees may work in locations that are far from one another. Such arrangements might include people who telecommute from a home office 1 or 2 days a week, and people who actually live and work far away from company headquarters and see one another in person very infrequently. Virtual leadership, therefore, is leadership via various forms of distance technologies. How then do managers carry out leadership when they don't have regular personal contact with their followers? And how do they help monitor and develop others? Communication between leaders and their subordinates will still occur, of course, but it may largely be by telephone, texting, and email. Hence, one implication may be that leaders in these situations simply need to work harder at creating and maintaining relationships with their employees that go beyond specific words and computer screens. Managers should take advantage of every single opportunity, whether they're in face-to-face situations, to go further than they might have done under different circumstances to develop a strong relationship. Beyond these simple prescriptions, there's no theory or research to guide managers functioning in a virtual world. Hence, as electronic communications continue to pervade the workplace, researchers and managers alike will need to work together to help frame the appropriate issues and questions regarding virtual leadership, and then collaborate to help address those issues and answer those questions.